Hey friends, imagine you're strolling through the grocery store, cruising down the oil aisle, and it's like a health food showdown. Bottles of olive oil, avocado oil, canola oil, all screaming, heart healthy with those shiny green labels. You grab one feeling like you're making a solid choice for your body. But what if the oil you've been pouring into your skillets for years is silently gunking up your arteries? Sounds wild, doesn't it? Well, hang with me, because today we're uncovering the truth about a so-called healthy cooking oil that might be doing more harm than good. By the end, you'll know exactly which oil to ditch, why it's a problem, and what to use instead to keep your heart in top shape. Let's dive in. Let's kick things off with a story. A couple of years back, my friend Nancy, she's 45, a mom of two, always juggling work and soccer practice, was all in on healthy eating. She ditched butter for what she thought was the smarter pick, canola oil. She'd drizzle it in her veggie stir-fries, bake her famous banana bread with it, even use it for her kids' grilled cheese sandwiches. It's heart healthy, she'd say, pointing to the label like it was gospel. Her doctor even gave her a thumbs up during her annual checkup. But then, Nancy started feeling off, sluggish, foggy, like her energy was stuck in first gear. Worse, her cholesterol numbers started climbing despite her healthy diet. She was stumped. I mean, who wouldn't be? You're doing all the right things, and yet your body's sending up red flags. That's when she started digging, and what she found flipped her world upside down. Turns out that heart-healthy canola oil might have been the culprit all along, quietly contributing to inflammation and artery issues she never saw coming. Nancy is not alone in this. I've heard similar tales from folks online, like one woman who shared on X how she'd been force-fed a diet high in canola oil during her hospital stay as a teen. She described feeling like she was crawling out of her skin with anxiety, and over the years, it seemed tied to worsening mental health issues. Another guy talked about daily KFC fried in seed oils, including canola, leaving him with constant migraines and feeling concussed every morning. These aren't just isolated complaints. They point to a bigger pattern where what's marketed as healthy might be backfiring. So, what's the oil we're talking about? All right, here's the big reveal. It's canola oil. Yep, that kitchen staple you'll find in every supermarket, the one with all the low and saturated fat claims and heart-shaped logos. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold up, isn't canola oil good for you? I get it. Canola has been sold to us as the golden child of cooking oils for decades. It's cheap, it's versatile, and it's got that heart-healthy stamp of approval from big organizations. But here's the thing. Research suggests canola oil might be quietly damaging your cardiovascular health. Let's unpack why step by step. First, let's talk about where canola oil comes from. It starts with the rapeseed plant, which sounds innocent enough, like something you'd find in a farmer's field. But the journey from plant to bottle, it's not exactly a wholesome farm-to-table story. Most canola oil is heavily processed. The seeds are crushed, heated to crazy high temperatures, then extracted with chemical solvents like hexane. After that, it's refined to strip away its weird, off-putting smell. What you end up with is an oil that's about as far from natural as you can get. Compare that to extra virgin olive oil, which is often just pressed from olives with minimal fuss, like squeezing juice from an orange. The kicker is, all that processing doesn't just change the oil's flavor, it messes with how it behaves in your body. Hexane residues, even in trace amounts, raise eyebrows, and the high heat steps can create trans fats, which are notorious for heart issues. Why does that matter? Well, canola oil is loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6s aren't the bad guys. We need them for things like brain function and cell growth. But here's the problem. Most of us are getting way too many omega-6s compared to omega-3s, the kind you find in salmon, walnuts, or flax seeds. The ideal omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is about 1:1 or maybe 2:1, but the average American diet, it's more like 20:1. Picture trying to balance a seesaw with a linebacker on one end and a kitten on the other. That imbalance triggers inflammation in your body, and inflammation is like a slow-burning fire in your arteries, setting the stage for heart disease over time. Pause for a second. Have you ever wondered why heart disease rates skyrocketed in the last century? Some point fingers at the rise of processed oils like canola, which flooded our diets and threw off that fatty acid balance. It's not just theory. Studies link high omega-6 intake to increased risks of chronic conditions.
Let's get into the science, but don't worry, I'll keep it simple. When you cook with canola oil, especially at high heat like frying or roasting, those omega-6 fats, particularly one called linoleic acid, can oxidize. Oxidation is like rust forming on metal. It's not good. These oxidized fats don't just sit there in your bloodstream. They can damage the delicate lining of your arteries, making it easier for plaque to build up. Think of your arteries as a smooth, open highway. Oxidation is like potholes and cracks forming. Over time, they clog the road, raising your risk for heart attacks or strokes. A 2019 study in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that diets high in omega-6s from oils like canola can increase markers of inflammation and oxidative stress. Not exactly the heart-healthy vibe the bottle's promising, right? There's more. Canola oil often contains small amounts of trans fats, even if the label says zero trans fat. How? The high heat processing can create these sneaky fats, which are like kryptonite for your heart. They raise bad LDL cholesterol and lower good HDL cholesterol. A 2017 review in Nutrients pointed out that even low levels of trans fats in processed oils can contribute to cardiovascular issues over time. And let's not forget animal studies. Rats fed canola oil showed increased blood pressure, shortened lifespans, and more inflammation compared to other oils. Sure, we're not rats, but these findings raise red flags. Some folks argue canola's fine because it's low in saturated fat, but that misses the point. It's the processing and imbalance that's the issue. Even human studies show mixed results. One found canola users had higher metabolic syndrome risks in overweight folks. And heated canola, it releases compounds that amp up inflammation markers. Let's hit pause for another real-world example. My Uncle Tim, a retired firefighter with a love for crispy chicken wings, was a canola oil devotee. Every Sunday, he'd fire up the deep fryer, pour in the canola, and whip up a batch of wings that were the talk of the neighborhood. He figured he was being health-conscious by skipping butter or lard. But last year, at his annual checkup, his doctor flagged high LDL cholesterol and early signs of arterial plaque. Tim was floored. He hit the gym, ate his broccoli, and thought he was making all the right moves. When he swapped canola for olive oil and tweaked his cooking habits, his numbers started improving within months. Was it just the oil? Hard to say for sure, but the science backs it up. Cutting back on omega-6 heavy oils can make a measurable difference. Echoing this, a post on X from a doctor emphasized how butter, used for millennia, is likely better than modern processed canola. Another user shared how seed oils, including canola, turned their keto diet into a nightmare of pain and inflammation until they switched to carnivore. These stories highlight how everyday choices add up. So what's the fix? If canola's off the table, what should you be cooking with? Don't worry. I've got you covered with some heart-friendly alternatives that won't let you down. Let's expand on these options, because choosing the right one depends on what you're cooking. Extra virgin olive oil. This is the MVP of healthy oils. It's packed with monounsaturated fats and antioxidants that actually fight inflammation. Use it for sautéing, salad dressings, or drizzling over roasted veggies. Just keep the heat below 375 degrees to preserve its goodness. Studies show it lowers heart disease risk when replacing saturated fats. Avocado oil, perfect for high-heat cooking, like frying or roasting. It's got a neutral flavor, a high smoke point, and a fatty acid profile that's kind to your heart. Plus, it's less processed than canola. Great for grilling meats or stir-fries. Coconut oil. This one's a bit polarizing because of its saturated fat content, but in small amounts, it's stable for high-heat cooking and adds a subtle sweetness to baked goods. Stick to unrefined versions for the best quality. Some research suggests it boosts HDL cholesterol. Ghee, clarified butter. If you're okay with animal fats, ghee is fantastic. It's butter with the milk solids removed, so it's lactose-free and has a high smoke point. Rich in butyrate, which supports gut health. Used for Indian dishes or frying eggs. Walnut oil. For cold uses like dressings, it's nutty and full of omega-3s. Don't heat it much though, it's delicate. Here's a quick tip. Always check for cold-pressed or unrefined on the label. These oils are processed minimally, so you're getting the good stuff without the chemical aftertaste. Now let's talk about making the switch in your kitchen. It's not about overhauling your life overnight. Small changes add up. Here's your game plan, with some extra details to make it stick. Audit your pantry. Got a bottle of canola oil? Don't toss it, that's wasteful. Use it for non-cooking tasks, like seasoning a cast iron skillet. Then replace it with olive or avocado oil when it's gone. Swap smart. Try olive oil in your go-to recipes.
Making a stir-fry? Avocado oil's your friend for that high-heat sizzle. Making muffins? Coconut oil can add a nice touch. Start with one meal a day to ease in. Read labels like a detective. Canola oil sneaks into processed foods. Think salad dressings, crackers, even healthy granola bars. Check ingredient lists and pick brands that use olive or avocado oil instead. Look out for terms like vegetable oil blend. That often includes canola. Cook with care. Oils can break down if you overheat them. If your pan is smoking, it's too hot, and those fumes aren't doing your body any favors. Keep a kitchen thermometer handy for frying to stay in the safe zone. Aim for medium heat most times. Experiment with flavors. Try infusing olive oil with herbs for dips, or use ghee for popcorn. Tastes amazing and skips the microwave chemicals. Want a real-world example of how to make this work? My neighbor Lisa used to fry everything in canola oil. Chicken, zucchini fritters, you name it. When she learned about the omega-6 issue, she switched to avocado oil for frying and olive oil for everything else. She didn't change her recipes, just the oil. Now she says her food tastes better, and her last blood work showed her cholesterol levels holding steady. It's not magic, it's just a smarter choice. Another tip from online chatter. One user swore by ditching all refined oils like canola and sunflower, linking them to gut issues and inflammation. They felt better almost immediately. Let's address a couple of FAQs you might have swirling in your head. I've added a few more based on common questions I see popping up. Isn't canola oil better than butter? Not necessarily. Butter's got saturated fats, but it's way less processed and doesn't have the omega-6 overload. If you're choosing, grass-fed butter in small amounts can be a better pick for low-heat cooking, like scrambling eggs. What about other vegetable oils? Oils like soybean, corn, or sunflower often have the same issues as canola, high omega-6s and heavy processing. Stick to olive, avocado, or coconut oil to keep things heart-friendly. Is all canola oil bad? Not every bottle is a villain, but the highly processed nature of most commercial canola oils makes them a risky bet. If you must use it, look for organic, cold-pressed versions, but even then, use it sparingly. What if studies say canola is good? Some do praise it for lowering cholesterol when replacing saturated fats, but many are industry-funded or don't account for long-term inflammation. Experts advise looking at the whole picture, including processing and omega balance. Can canola affect my brain? Animal studies suggest yes, it might impact memory and increase oxidative stress. One rat study linked it to Alzheimer's-like changes. All right, let's bring it home. Your heart's working hard every single day, pumping blood, keeping you moving, keeping you alive. Why load it up with an oil that's quietly causing chaos in your arteries? You deserve better than that. Ditch the canola, grab some olive or avocado oil, and cook with confidence. Your body will thank you. Oh, and one last thing. If you want more no BS tips to cut through the health hype, hit that subscribe button. Here's to a healthier you, because a strong heart is a happy heart.